Ukraine condemned sham elections in Russian-occupied regions. People living in Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine are being asked to vote in what the authorities are describing as local elections. Ukraine's foreign minister called the polls a sham, saying the votes would not have any legal standing. Candidates are all either Russian or pro-Russian and include governors handpicked by Moscow. Many taking part in early polling have been asked to cast their votes in the presence of armed Russian soldiers. Ukrainian officials have warned people not to participate. They say any Ukrainian citizens involved in organizing the elections can expect to be punished in the future. The Council of Europe, a human rights body, condemned the move in the illegally annexed Ukrainian territories as a flagrant violation of international law, which Russia continues to disregard. Not only are these areas an integral part of Ukraine, but the decision to hold elections there creates the illusion of democracy, the Council said in a statement. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also decried the polls, saying Russia's sham elections in occupied areas of Ukraine are illegitimate. This sparked a response from the Russian embassy in the U.S., which accused Washington of meddling in Moscow's internal affairs. The elections, which conclude on Sunday, and are taking place in 4 regions that Russia does not even fully control, Donetsk and Luhansk, in the east, and the southern regions of Zaporizhia and Kherson. Together they make up around 15% of Ukraine's sovereign territory. Elections are also taking place in Crimea, under illegal Russian occupation since 2014, and are being run in parallel to local polls in Russia itself. Images shared by Russia's Election Commission provide an almost surreal glimpse into the polling stations, as well as the expected setups in schools and administrative buildings. Some stations are in the backyards of homes or even on street benches. Photos depict voters dropping ballots into boxes seemingly under the watchful eyes of heavily armed, balaclava-clad soldiers. Some photos showed polls being dropped into clear plastic ballot boxes, with the votes clearly visible. The Commission reports that the voter turnout for so-called regional parliaments has exceeded 50% in Kherson and 40% in Donetsk. This is a much higher than seen in Russian regional polls in the last decade. It also stands out given that the Russian military does not have complete control over the claimed regions and pulled out of the city of Kherson, the regional capital, almost a year ago. There are no independent observers to validate these elections, and the total vote count has not been disclosed. The exiled mayor of the city of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, described the elections as illegal and worthless, saying that many candidates in the Zaporizhia region were not residents, with some even coming from Siberia in Russia's Far East. He told the AP news agency the city had faced tighter security in recent days and residents were intimidated because voting in an occupied city was like voting in a prison. The 4 occupied regions where elections are taking place were claimed by Moscow as its own in September last year, after holding illegal annexation referendums on the future of the occupied lands. Those referendums were also condemned by the international community as a sham, with reports of over 99% support for the regions switching to Moscow's control, and at times involved armed soldiers go in from door to door to gather votes. In the occupied lands, Russia has banned the use of Ukraine's currency since January. Moscow has said it rolling out its own mobile networks and will refurbish schools. But as recently as August, Russian authorities admitted that only about 20% of schools in these regions had seen reconstruction, and its regular mobile networks, the ones commonly used in Russia, are conspicuously missing in the occupied zones. In an unusual move, Ukrainians can still cast their ballots using their Ukrainian passports. This might be because a significant number have not adopted Russian nationality. The Zaporizhia region, one of the areas where Russia is holding elections, is also the focus of Kyiv's counteroffensive, which was launched in the summer. Ukrainian generals claim they have breached Russia's formidable first line of defenses in that region, suggesting the counteroffensive there is poised to gain momentum. Analysts at the US-based Institute for the Study of War ISW say recent advances there are tactically significant and are widening the Ukrainian breach of Russian defensive lines in the area and threatening Russian secondary lines of defense. The focus of Ukraine's efforts there have been around the village of Robotyne, which is some 56 kilometers, 35 miles southeast of the city of Zaporizhia, the regional capital.